welcome to the channel. Now today we'll be going through a breakdown and a summary of Sgt Mathebula's testimony. So on our previous video we spoke about Sgt Mthethwa's testimony as we broke it down and we summarized it. Basically, Sgt Mthethwa was one of the first officers to arrive at the scene, and he was accompanied by Sgt Mathebula. So the story seemed to be kind of similar, and then we'll go through but with a little bit of tweets there from Sgt Mathebula. So today we will just highlight on the things that he said differently. So if you want a more detailed story of the two testimonies, it is summarized on the previous video, so please do check it out. I will link the video below. So basically, Sgt Mthethwa says that they received the call at the station around 8:53 p.m., which was 7 minutes to 9 in the evening. So he was actually the driver. So he tells us his story that when they arrived at the premises or the crime scene at the Khumalo's house, he says that there was more than one lady that told them that showed them or told them to go and look at the park actually. So it wasn't one lady just like Sgt Mthethwa said, but it was more than one lady. This is what he said. And then he says that they drove off, and then he then mentioned that when they got to the park, because you can go through to the other side. So he says that they went through to the other side. They drove right through the park to the other side, to the other street. It leads you to another street, something like that. So and then he doesn't say how long they took there. And then after they realized that there's nobody there, and mind you that those ladies that told them to go look for the suspects at the park never even gave a description. So the police officers just went boom, just drove off, not knowing who were they looking for, what were they wearing, or something that can identify the people that they were going to look for. They just drove off and went to look in the park. So yeah, now he says that when they were done looking at through the park and everything, they went back to the Khumalo homestead, and then that's when they met Themba Khumalo, which is the brother and the uncle of the family. And then Themba Khumalo was the one that unlocked the door for them, so the door was locked at that time. After that, they went inside and then they checked by the kitchen area. So when they checked at the kitchen area, all that he noticed was the walking stick on the floor and the head. And then afterwards, he just explained the scene as it was messed up. So he told himself that there must have been a party going on here or something like that. So he concluded like that. And then afterwards, they were asking Themba for a lot of things like, okay, tell us what happened and all those things. And then Themba said, I do not know what really happened, and the people that know what happened are at the hospital. And at that time was then they told themselves, or they concluded that they needed to go to the hospital. So they told Themba, lock the house, and then they went to the hospital. Now, just as soon as they got to the hospital, they say that the first thing that they saw was the BMW. This will be Senzo's car, the X6 or the X5. So when they proceeded to the car, they saw Kelly Khumalo inside, and then Kelly Khumalo wasn't alone in the car. She was sitting with some man or boy or gentleman. I don't know how to describe it because the word that they used was umfana, so we don't know. So as they approached Kelly Khumalo, they asked her then, Kelly Khumalo introduced herself as Senzo Meyiwa's baby mama. And then they asked her what happened, and then Kelly Khumalo replied and saying the people inside actually know what happened there. So they left Kelly Khumalo and they made their way inside the hospital then. When they got inside the hospital, they saying that they saw the family and the friends there, and then they looked for a sister and they inquired about the deceased, and they saw the body, and they asked the sister, the nurse, what happened, and the nurse just told him that there was a wound, a gunshot wound on the deceased on the chest. Okay, and then afterwards they saying that they then went to the family and they said that they needed somebody that will come with them so that they can give them further details as to what happened back in the house. So Sergeant Mathebula says by that time, only by that time when he saw the body, that's when he then realized that where we are coming from at the residency, that means that's a crime scene. Now he then says that's when he asked one of the family members to come with them. And this is when Makhumalo volunteered and said, I will accompany you guys and I will give you further details as to what happened. So he also doesn't record Ntabiseng being there. So they proceeded, they drove back to the Khumalo house with Makhumalo. Now he then says when they arrived on the streets, they saw that there were a lot of people on the streets, but not in the premises. But we know that there were people in the premises. So now he's saying that Themba then opened the door for them. Then that's when they made their way into the kitchen with Makhumalo. So he says that Makhumalo then picked up a hat on the floor and then said this was what one of the suspects was wearing. So then they told her, no, don't touch it, put it back. So she put it back, and this they did not tell the forensic officer that actually Makhumalo happened to have touched the head. Now he says that after the head thing, that's when they went to the dining area and they saw blood there. And then after everything that they did there, that's when Captain Zwane and the task team came, and then they were told that they were discharged. And then what they did is then go back to the police station and they finished off on the testimony, on the statements. Now, when it comes to the defense team, the questions or the argument was similar to the ones that they posed to Sergeant Mthethwa. One being that they were negligent and they left the crime scene unattended. And the second thing was a clarification as to when they rode back to the premises with Makhumalo, to the crime scene with Makhumalo, was Ntabiseng present? And the third one was to make clarity as to was there any tampering with the people present inside the house even when they came back, because Ntabiseng clearly stated that she was the person who showed the police that the silver thing is this what you guys are looking for, and that will be the bullet projectile. Now the defense team further wanted to know what happened to the other Khumalos, and the sergeant said he believed that they stayed at the hospital. Okay, and then afterwards they wanted to know, did you take any statement from the people, because you guys were the first ones to arrive? And then they took none. The only thing that he said from the ladies that showed them when they first arrived that the suspect had fled to the park. He says that he took their names and those were drafted on the pocketbook, and we know that the pocketbooks don't exist anymore. And then furthermore, he then said that Makhumalo or Kelukhumalo told them that Kelukhumalo's phone was stolen, and then the defense was like, did you know that on your statement? And he said no, it wasn't included on his statement. And then the defense was like, why would you leave out like crucial information like that? Then he just said at that time it is what it is. So Msholol was like, were you sober? Were you sober? Because it seems like a lot of things you guys just didn't do. Were you guys in the right state of mind? And then he further said, yes, we were. So that's it from Sergeant Mathebula, who was one of the first officers who came to the crime scene, and we know that they failed dismally to secure that crime scene. Thank you for watching.